Shall we begin?
हाँ हाँ जी खुशबू जी शुरू करिए।
Okay. Okay. Hello, and once again, a very good evening to all our participants. We would now proceed to the next session for the day. Now, again, I would like to request our convener, Dr. Smriti Singh, to welcome our very special guest and speaker for the day, Dr. Matthew Verghese, who is here with us. Smriti, ma'am, over to you.
I guess you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you properly.
Respected all the participants, and it's difficult for me to welcome Dr. Matthew Verghese because he has been always part of us, you know. So, but formally, yeah, I extend my warm welcome to a doctor and Matthew, sir. If you will ask me, whose brainchild was it? It was Matthew sir's brainchild. This whole concept of launching this FDP came out with Matthew sir's conversation. One day we were discussing about teachers and problem of disabled children and all these things. So he said, why to blame teachers? Did we try to train them? Do they know how to deal with special needs children actually need? So from here, this idea emerged. Yeah, we launch all kind of refresher course. We launch all kind of FTP, and we launch everything. But when it comes to teaching, like government of India has made it compulsory for everyone. Now every school, every institution, every college that they have to admit disabled students. But did we prepare our teachers for the same? So with this idea, this FDP was launched. And now you all are part of it. Sir, you are really superhero who was worried about their patient, your patients, and who is worried about society at large. Thank you so much. It's privilege to have you here.
Um,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Smriti ma'am. I would like to request our technical coordinator to please start the presentation. I'm so pleased and I feel truly honored to introduce Dr. Matthew Verghese. Dr. Verghese is the head of the Department of Orthopedics, St. Stephen's Hospital, New Delhi. He also served as the director of the hospital from 1999 to 2006. He was instrumental in changing the profile of the hospital to a super specialty tertiary care center, even while maintaining a large community outreach program. Dr. Verghese earned his graduation and postgraduate degree in orthopedic surgery from Maulana Azad Medical College, University of Delhi. He is an expert on injury control, epidemiology of injuries, pre-hospital care, and emergency care of trauma patients. He has specialized in trauma care with particular emphasis on reconstructive surgery for trauma and deformities in adult and pediatric patients. He is the co-author of the book When Someone is Hurt, a first aid guide which has been translated into 5 languages, and pre-hospital trauma care system published by the World Health Organization. He is also an associate faculty at the Transportation Research and Injury Prevention Program, a WHO collaborating center at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. It is also worth mentioning that Dr. Verghese' work with polio patients in Delhi has caught the attention of Microsoft founder Bill Gates, who mentioned him in a post on real life heroes in his blog, Gate Notes, to which Professor Dr. Matthew's response was, I didn't see it. I didn't have the time to. And I usually use my WhatsApp to just check x-rays of my patients. So that he said humbly to this. He also has various awards and accolades to his credit, including Award of Honor for Reconstructive Surgery in Polio Patients in 1996. He is also the recipient of the prestigious National Award for Excellence in Medicine by the T.P. Jhunjhunwala Foundation for the year 2004 to 5, and the Distinguished Alumnus Award 2007, Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. Now, before Dr. Verghese begin with his session, as a token of recognition and appreciation for the extraordinary and life-altering work that Dr. Verghese does, we would like to play a short video of Dr. Verghese in his honor. I would request our technical coordinator to please play the clip.
Dr. Matthew Verghese runs India's only polio ward, where he treats polio patients so they can walk again. While there are no new polio cases in the country, thousands of its victims still live with the impact of the crippling disease.
Polio is a viral infectious disease. Usually, polio affects the lower limbs. Most severe deformities, they need crutches to walk. Some of them may be so severely paralyzed that they are bedridden. It's a permanent paralysis. This girl, she was 23, I think. She had never stood in her life, and these are her first few steps in her life. All of them want one thing. They want to walk on their 2 feet, unassisted. So the dignity of being able to stand on 2 legs, albeit with braces, that makes a huge difference. Accessing even the free healthcare in our communities is so difficult. These are marginal existence societies. They are on the edge, on the edge of the society. So what resources can they put together? In the 80s, every day, 500 to 1,000 children across India are paralyzed. Look at the burden. People like me will still be required to take care of them for a long time to come. But I can die peacefully. In future, maybe there'll be no doctor for a polio ward. That ability to change something for someone gives so much joy. I don't think anyone is as happy as I am.
I'm tearing up a little bit. Welcome you, sir. Thank you for fitting us in your super busy schedule and giving us your valuable time. Dr. Verghese, over to you.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much for those flattering compliments, Khushbu, and Smriti also. It's really, it's really embarrassing to sit and listen to your own praises. But I go through this because if I can at least excite in people's mind a sensitivity that is different for people with disabilities, it's worth going through all of this. Thank you so much for that. Can I share my screen?
Most definitely, sir, you can.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Well, thank you very much. I must seek your indulgence. I had originally thought I'll speak extempore and, try to explain some of the concepts. But then I thought that there's a large audience and there may be problems of the audio not being good, video not being good. So if the video is not there, the audio will work. If audio is not there, video will work. So somewhere something can connect. And I hope I'm able to transfer the message across to everyone out there. So Smriti was okay. So suit the way you want it. And when the topic was to be thought of, I spent a little while thinking, what should I say? The exact wording, I think, was conceptualized by Smriti, but I only said that I want to do something on social responsibility towards the persons with disability. But it's important for us to recognize what is disability. So that once is clear in your mind, then the whole concept of how to deal with that will fall into place. So I have several, I did some reading, put together some slides. The last slide was set, put on save mode at 4:28, just 2 minutes before I opened the website. So I apologize for any mistakes that are there in the slides, but ignore the slides. I just want to use the slides to give a feel to others on what is what. And I'll start with some, burdensome texts, busy slides. But I'll try to pick out some messages from there and tell you. So first of all, the definition of disability. So if you look at the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016, Government of India, you will have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment, which in interaction with barriers hinders his full and effective participation in society equally and with others. Oh, how much have I registered to remember? I was in Bhutan and I was taken in a WHO team to a school for deaf children. And the school was during the working time, all children there were deaf or nearly so. And about 10 of us were there, and we were to visit and look at the classrooms and to see how the teachers interact with the students. So when we entered a classroom, there's a bunch of about 30 children, class 3, 30 children, all of them sitting together and all excited. There are these foreigners who have come. I was not the only one. There were people from Europe also. And they were visibly agitated about the visit and excited about the visit. And the teacher and the students were exchanging sign languages. And I didn't understand a word of what they said. They were so excited, but they were doing all signs all over, all of them, with the teacher. And teacher was also excitedly explaining things to them, all in sign language. I didn't understand a word. And then the penny dropped. I realized, my God, they are not disabled. I am the one disabled here. If I have to live here for the rest of my life with the ignorance of the language that they are using, I am disabled. So it is important for us to recognize that disability is contextual. What is the context in which that human being is placed, and therefore he feels disabled. We have made our societies, our communities friendly for people without disabilities, friendly for people that have vision normal, hearing normal, locomotor normal, intellectual normal, in every way so-called normal. I'll use the word normal within inverted commas, but because God alone knows what is between the ears and how normal they are inside their brains. And that keeps these children with a little difference from you and me to be at a disadvantage from you and me. And that is context. So the disability context can be changed completely if you change that context for that child or that adult. That is the difference of understanding the contextualness of disability. And I acutely became aware of it in that school. I went from classroom to classroom, feeling miserable one after the other. And I could then understand the misery that people with disabilities face when they are put in a context which is so difficult for them to deal with. And therefore, it is important for a person that is dealing with another human being. I am not saying person with disability. I am saying another human being, because the entire spectrum of creation of the God has to be viewed as a spectrum which is diverse. It is a diverse spectrum. There is nothing which is equal. It is an unequal world. It is an unequal society. It is an unequal creation. But we have to think of respect for each other in that unequalness. So the diversity has to be thought of as an important part. So once you know this, then your understanding of disability has just begun. And once that understanding has begun, then you can look at, is it a physical challenge in terms of a locomotor difficulty? Or is it a visual challenge in terms of ability not to see? Or is it something to do with speech? Or is it something to do with multiple disorders? Now, a large number of these are visible disorders. Particularly the locomotor ones can be grotesque. At the end of my presentation, I will have some pictures which I'll show to give you a feel of the grotesque. It is easy to empathize or pity or sympathize with these grotesque physical deformities. What you don't understand is if it is an intellectual challenge, which is not visible, then it becomes very difficult. Then that person is constantly hiding behind that normal physicality. That normal physicality will hide behind that affective problem inside their brains or whatever else that they have, which is not so obvious. Maybe it is a stammer, so they may never speak out in public. They will always stay behind the screen. Back room workers, backstage workers, or maybe it is a depressive psychiatric illness, which they just don't want to appear in public, people to know. They want to hide that. So it's important for us to recognize what is it and what is the consequence of that. So mental illness is one category which is completely stigmatized and completely kept in a cocoon in society, because the stigma never comes out. So they are forever condemned to their life in their cocoons. And when the survey for persons with disabilities was being done in the National Sample Survey, they did not look at some of the most creative aspects of human being, which is art, music, and other creative endeavors of human being. So when we look at the literacy in the 3 R's in the surveys, we're actually losing out the creativity of a large number of these people, which would make them completely outstanding if you were to put them in similar creative environments. The last National Sample Survey, which was the 76th round done by the Statistical Institute of India, 2018, describes the number of disabled in India as 2.2 of the total population. 2.2% of the total population. Our total population is 1.3 billion. Just look at the number of millions of people that are disabled. It's a huge number. The rural sector has a slightly higher percentage compared to an urban sector. And males are more predominant than the females in this representation. Now, so a politician can say, okay, we will set a target that we will reduce the number of disabled in our country from 2.2% to 1.5%. At least 1% plus reduction in the disabled in the country. Well, many years back, when I was ignorant of the field, I would have said very nice, very intelligent politician and very empathetic politician. He is wanting to reduce the number of disabled. But remember, as societies evolve, as societies grow and mature economically, socially, developmentally, the percentage of disabled in that society will not decrease. It will increase. The nature of the disability will change. So if there are a large number of polio affected and you eradicate polio, polio goes out, but then something else comes in. Like today, we have a large number of cerebral palsy children. And if you improve the birthing mechanisms in the government institutions where deliveries are happening, all women in labor are taken to birthing centers which are outstandingly well skilled, you may reduce the number of cerebral palsy children, but others with more terminal illness will survive for longer. So the nature of disability will change, but the spectrum is different, but the numbers would go up. That has to be understood very clearly. As societies develop and evolve, the numbers will go up. So that's just a table to tell you the different varieties, and the maximum representation is, of course, the locomotor disability. 1.1% of the total population of India, 1.3 billion, are locomotorily challenged. Visual disabled, 0.2%, hearing disabled, 0.2%, language disability, 0.1%, intellectual and mental retardation, 0.1%, mental illness, 1.1%. So multiply disabled, 0.2%. So total number is 2.0%. When you look at the educational status, you can claim 52.2% were literates. I did a survey many years back on children in Sonipat district, Kharkhoda block, looking at all children with disability. So there were field workers who did house-to-house survey looking at children with disability. And when the field workers identified a child with disability, they would call me, and I would go on the weekend house to house, every house. So every villager in the village knew about me and my visits. I would assess each one of them and identify them. Do you know what I found about educational status of these children? Any child with polio who has been identified, they were at least 2 grades below their level, 2 grades below their level. Why? Because their illness took away that 2 years of their life. The illness took away their 2 years of life. Moving from hospital to hospital, going from hope to hopelessness and despair. Because you move with hope initially, when the answer is no, that the paralysis will not recover, they will go to hopelessness and despair. So that is what we found. They have lagging behind. It's very interesting. Those villages where, this is the latest survey of the National Sample Survey 2018, which talks about 52.2% being literate. What about the rest? They are left behind. Why are they left behind? Why? Because when they have a disability, their accessing educational facilities becomes a problem, particularly in villages. So in villages which had only a primary school, 2 primary school children they would be educated till primary school because they can't travel to the next school in the neighborhood village or in the neighborhood district. If the school had a middle school, every disabled there would be educated till the middle school. If the school had a high school, if the village had a high school, every child who is disabled would join the school late or will drop out of school for 1 or 2 years, but will be educated till that many levels as that particular school in that village. So it was a lesson for me because that told me that the access, if you improve, their education level can improve. And formative years of my medicine training was the time when UNICEF brought out a document which talked about impairment, disability, and handicap. And I was a little unsure of what exactly is the difference. I thought they're all the same. But for the purposes of uniformity, we use the term disabled now. Person with disability. Person with disability is the term that we use. But impairment is the physical loss that the person has. Disability is the consequences of that physical loss. Say if he is not able to walk because he's an amputee, that is his disability. If because of his inability to walk, he is not able to go to school and he remains lagging behind as an educational level, that becomes a handicap. Oh, that immediately made sense. So all impairments that we hear about need not lead to a disability and a handicap. An amputee can have a prosthesis, able to walk well and join school and complete his education and be a productive member of the society. That understanding has to drop in. So if in a society there is a person with a disability who is not able to go to school, who is not able to get to the level of education, that means 47.8% of people in this survey have not become literate, though they are more than 7 years. And that is because our systems have not been allowed to grow that. People with disability enrolled in ordinary school, 62.9%, 3 to 35 years. Still, there is a large number that is left behind. So it's important that whichever way you look at these tables, rural, urban, combined rural, urban, persons with preschool interventions only 10%. And those enrolled in ordinary school comes to about 62%. So it's important for us to understand it is the persistence of your inaccessibility to the systems that encourages disability. Again, access to aids and appliances also contributes to the disability. If they are not able to access, so this is the National Sample Survey table directly taken from there, which clearly shows only 30% plus of these people have been able to access the aids for these children for reducing their disability status. So their level of disability is maintained because of access issues. Again, if you look at the receipt of aids, the green part of the table is those that did not receive. The numbers are huge, whether it is a rural male, female, whether it is a combined male and female urban, it is all over reduced access to the technological aids for these people. Those that received help is 21.8%. So there is a huge need for building up. 76.4% did not receive aid or help. It's not my survey, it's National Sample Survey, government statistics. So we can look at it negatively. I look at it positively. There's so much of challenge for us to work hard on. There is so much an opportunity for us to work hard on. I look at it from that perspective. Again, employment and labor participation. Recently, when the epidemic started of corona, I started a research program with WHO on how the corona pandemic impacted persons with disabilities. And do you know the number one problem that they had? The number one problem they had was economic. Access to money and what money can buy. Most important for survival, that is food. Their biggest problem was getting food because they had no money. And why did they have no money? Because they had no employment. But then there are schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme in rural areas. And this problem was acute, both in villages and in urban areas. So Manrega, I'll try to look at Manrega. Manrega scheme is for the fully abled worker, not the physically challenged or the intellectually challenged worker. So if there is a worker who was able to do something concrete because or despite of his disability, lockdown prevented him from accessing that facility and lockdown made him go hungry. So we should think of innovative schemes where schemes like Manrega can be open for people with disability in a different manner, create an employment guarantee for these people also. In the sample survey, almost 400,000 plus persons were surveyed, and that is the result of the statistics. We have a new education policy, and education is fundamental to achieving full potential of human existence. And that full potential, every child has a right to achieve, and we must provide that. And this is also part of the goal of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4 of 2030 to be achieved by 2030, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education. The operative word is inclusive. What do you mean by inclusive? You include them in your community as your own member, not segregate them, not keeping them apart, including them with you in your fold, and then promoting a lifelong learning and educational experience. So inclusiveness is the bottom line of United Nations program. We are a signatory to that program. It is part of Goal 4 of Sustainable Development Goal to be achieved by 2030. We are in 2021. We only have 9 years. And we need to reach out to 72% plus of those children that are not able to access this facility. So we have a huge challenge ahead. So therefore, what Maitri College has done is an important contribution in sensitizing people to the need of this kind of an activity where children can be inclusive. It is increasingly critical. Children not only learn, but also learn to learn the new way. And also the teachers learn to teach the new way. Both are important. This is an education which is a continuum across age groups, across students and across teachers. So it's important that teachers also have sensitivity to keep the students with special needs in the same fold as those which are so-called normal. There is a common emotion when we see a disabled child with a physically obvious disability. A physically obvious disability. And that is a feeling of pity. That is the worst emotion that you can have for that human being. You never pity a person with a disability. There's a difference between pity and compassion. Pity sees the problem, it disturbs you a little bit, and you move on. Compassion sees the problem, it disturbs you, but it also awakens your sensitivity and sensibility to take action to do something. So what we need to see when the person with the disability is there is he awakening an emotion of pity? Then I'm sorry. That's not the right emotion. Is he awakening your awareness and sensitivity to take action and help out or reach out or do something to change things in yourself or your understanding? Yes, that makes sense. The new education policy is worded brilliantly. Full equity and inclusion as the cornerstone of all educational decisions. Beautiful. But it has to be translated from that written beauty to a beauty of action. That translational loss should not happen. And for that, all educational institutions need to prepare themselves. So that this graph, this table that is there, previous academic structure, the new academic structure, where there is a pedagogy and curricular structure to be changed into actual practicing, enlightening the students to excite them about these needs. And that will need teachers that are empowered with the knowledge to deal with these children. Every time the school and college admissions are coming out, are nearing, usually around February, March, or around May, June, we have a situation where the parents start hunting for disability certificates. And they have a tough time getting it. They don't get it easily. I'm on a Zoom call, I can't answer. So they can't access the disability certificate easily. They're running from pillar to post, trying to sign some connections. And you have situations where parents are willing to do anything to get a certificate for their children. So when people say that our societies, people are corrupt, I have a problem with that. People are corrupt because your system is designed to make them corrupt. If your system is designed to make it simple for people to access things, corruption need not be there. If your system is designed to keep it transparent, corruption need not be there. So I have parents that come to me and say, Dr. Sahab, humne 4,000 rupees de ke banwaya disability certificate. So they brave some clerk somewhere, some doctor somewhere to get the certificate out of turn, to jump the queue and get it. What is the need for this? A visible disability should be certifiable by any teacher. That should be sufficient. You need to simplify some of these things so that they can access the facility easily. And why that access has happened, the teacher should be trained to change their response to deal with the students. You know what principals tell me in schools? The parents goes there, on my recommendation, this child has to go to school. And I tell them, I'll treat you on the condition that you will admit the child to school. हाँ डॉक्टर साहब, हम स्कूल में गए थे, स्कूल में जब गए तो प्रिंसिपल ने बताया कि नहीं नहीं नहीं, हम इसको नहीं स्कूल में रख सकते, अगर आप इसके साथ एक अटेंडेंट रखोगे हम रखेंगे, हम जिम्मेदारी नहीं लेते हैं. So then I am certifying, सर्टिफिकेट बना के देता हूं कि ये जो है बच्चा स्कूल में बाकी बच्चों के साथ बैठेगा, ना दूसरों को दिक्कत करेगा ना खुद को दिक्कत करेगा, दोनों को रिस्क नहीं है. There is no risk to either of them. The child can sit in the same class. Do you know how people train for Olympics? Athletes, at least the runners, they run on tracks that are difficult for running. For example, PT Usha used to run on beaches. Do you know how difficult it is to run on beaches? They have runners that move faster than them so that they are forced to chase. The whole purpose of having a class with good students is the challenge is bigger than And when your challenge is bigger, your achievement quotient is higher. When you're challenged, then you achieve better. When there is no resistance, when it is easy going, then you lag behind. When you're challenged, then your performance goes higher and you become a better performer. And that becomes important for us to understand. So it is important for these children, with whatever challenges that they have, to attend regular and special schools. My close friend child has Down syndrome. I'll not name him. He was petrified when he learned about it. Down syndrome means intellectual problem. बुद्धि कम थी उसकी. तो स्कूल में जाके बात करी. The principal was very sensitive. उन्होंने उसको एक्सेप्ट कर लिया और नॉर्मल बच्चों के साथ बिठा दिया. Now, नॉर्मल बच्चों के साथ एक डाउन सिंड्रोम वाला बच्चा बैठ जाए तो इंटेलेक्चुअल अचीवमेंट उसकी बहुत लो हो जाती है. लेकिन the teachers were sensitized to the needs of the child and they took him with the rest of the class. And do you know, the child completed that primary school and reached middle school, and when he left primary school, all the classmates, they were so upset that he is leaving that class. So that they learn to respect such children. They learn to respect such human beings. They learn to interact with them. These children achieve far better than what they could have achieved in the other schools. So it's important that your benchmark, you keep it higher, your achievement will be higher, and any teacher knows that. So the awareness and knowledge both have to be created, and that will have to come from teachers. That will have to come from teachers training centers. That will have to be come from special training centers for these people. And that's a social responsibility. That's a university responsibility. Your bachelor's of education and master's of education technology has to factor in how to deal with a child with a special need and how to make him inclusive in that educational process for that particular classroom. And we have a new divide now, the digital divide. And many children are able to access it and many are not able to access it. And artificial intelligence can change that. So the digital divide, and in fact, again, I was in a meeting where there was a technical team from Italy there. And the meeting was on aids for disabled persons. And they were talking about artificial intelligence centers. And out of curiosity, so this first two people were there from two different centers. So out of curiosity, I asked them, tell me, you two people come from the same country, small country, two institutes. I'm not aware of any focused institute or many of them in my country which are doing this kind of work. How many do you have in your country? Can you guess the answer that I got? I was stunned. They said in the whole of Italy, we have 26 research centers working on artificial intelligence for persons with disabilities. Can you imagine? 26 in a small country. That needs to be addressed somewhere if you want to be Atmanirbhar. My learning of disabled sector was very, very slow. And I don't know how many of you would be knowing about this Dunning-Kruger effect. I wonder how many of you know about this, where you have an x-axis of competence and a y-axis of confidence. As your competence increases, your confidence also improves. So if you have no competence, you have zero confidence. A little knowledge, your confidence becomes high. So your graph goes really high because you've learned a little bit on persons with disabilities, and therefore you know all about it, you know how to deal with it, and you'll manage it. but that will be the mountain of stupidity. And then once you start dealing with them, you realize, oh my God, I didn't know this. Oh my God, I didn't know this. You end up from the mount top summit to the valley of despair. And from the valley of despair, if you are a wise man, you will learn from your mistakes. You learn slowly. But the slope of enlightenment is a slow gradient, but it can continue throughout your life. I started learning about this way back in 1990. When I started going to then Spastic Society of North India. The Spastic Society of North India, now it's called ADI. My teacher, Dr. Baluk Shankaran, who was the Director General of Health Services earlier and then in WHO and then joined Stephens. That's when I started doing polio work. He introduced to me to deal with children with cerebral palsy, with polio. And that's when I realized how little. I thought as a postgraduate and a registrar in orthopedics, I knew all about it. But I realized I know only the technical part. I don't know the social part. So I need to learn the social part. And I'm still on my journey to learn the social pathway to understanding that which is social in persons with disabilities. If you look at a classic book by Irving Goffman, the book is Stigma, written in 1962-63. Penguin publication. I don't know whether it's available on the net. You can download it free also, I think. The book talks about stigma. And the stigma, the subtitle of the book is Notes on the Management of Spoiled Identity. Now that spoiled identity may be a revealed identity or it may be a concealed identity. It could be any of the two. Your job is to see that when you're dealing with a student, are you dealing with the stigma? Are you eliminating the stigma or are you contributing to the stigma? And one of the most influential American sociologists of 20th century, that's how Irving Goffman is labeled as. He has written certain, and I've quoted several sentences of his, because in social interaction, a person with disability is doing what is continuously an impression management. He is continuously managing the impression of others about him so that others have an acceptable image about him. Whether it is a physical acceptability in terms of color or height or whatever, or a locomotor grotesqueness, or a verbal or a non-verbal uniqueness. So this differentness that is there, which contributes to stigma, will be visible, and then the person's behavior is different. It may be concealed as in an intellectual disability or a speech disorder, or even a hearing disability. You may not be able to see. The person may look normal, see normally, but the hearing will be affected and the speech also will be affected. So that differences is what makes the disabled person uncertain in his perception of how the other person is going to respond to him. Is he going to reject him, the person across the table, or is he going to accept him? He's not sure. And that is an uncertainty which nags him even after several interactions. I am reminded of Faiz Ahmed Faiz's poetry, Hum Thehre Ajnabi Kitni Mulaqaton ke baad. So true. Hum Thehre Ajnabi Kitni Mulaqaton ke baad. And the disabled is still trying to gauge, is he still being condescending to me, or is he really genuinely good with me? Or is he rejecting me? We don't know. क्या हम अजनबी को अपने अजीज बना सकते हैं? ये देखना है. So they are suspicious that when they are being nice to me, is it that they are truly nice, or are they something which is hidden? That has to be understood. And also sometimes the stigma can be used as a crutch, or it can be used as a crown. Many use the disability as a crutch to access more facilities. Many are crowned into more levels of activity representing that class. Both can be problematic. So we need to understand that. This is brought out beautifully by Irving Goffman. And this is something I learned interacting with cerebral palsy children, not in the first 10 years, believe it or not. When Dr. Shankaran was around, he would assess, I would watch him, I would assess, he would watch me, two of us would assess, and then we'll come to a conclusion and move on. Tell them this surgery, no surgery, go home, physiotherapy, AFOs, CAFOs, whatever, and they send them home. When I started interacting with them on my own, I realized many of these 18-year-old, 20-year-old girls and boys, when they talk to you like 6-year-old, 7-year-old children. And I didn't understand. I had not read the book Stigma at that time. I didn't understand it at that time. When I read the book, I said, oh my God, this is what was happening. Parents build a protective cocoon around these children with special needs. So they do not get to interact with their peers, their classmates. They only interact with their parents or people with similar disabilities. So what happens? The so-called normal people who go to normal classrooms, did they become adults going into schools and tuition classes? What are the difference between school and college? College was not regimented like school. College gave you a freedom of opportunity, action, and decision-making and interaction and learning. Did you always obey your parents? Did you always obey your teachers? Did you never bunk a class to see a movie which was not supposed to be watched, which was not supposed to be good? Don't you buy a book that seems to be banned? Doesn't banning create the excitement of that particular action more exciting? And that is more so for the teenager. The teenager in college is more vulnerable for this. You try to tell them that smoking is harmful, they would want to experiment. No, I am strong. I can get beyond this. So you became adults by doing things and experiencing things and experimenting things that your teachers and your parents and your other buddies told you not to do. By experimenting, by learning the hard way, you became adults and you became mature human beings. These children, they have a protective capsule around them, and therefore they never grow up, they never mature. And unless you put inclusive education for them and interact them with normal children, you're not going to have them grow as mature adults. You're going to keep them at a lagging behind, which is very difficult to bridge. It is important that their self-limiting, belittling definitions of them are prevented from entering the circles that are defined by their parents. And familiarity need not reduce contempt of these persons with disability. We have to understand it is creation of a sensitivity. And if you've seen it from childhood, if you've taught from your childhood, the teachers teach you, this is how you deal with this problem. This is how you do, this is the correct way. By example, not by just talking. You have to walk the talk. Unless you do that, it's not going to happen. I am, for all appearances, to my understanding, a social orthopedic surgeon, because I am trying to learn societal norms in my daily interactions with patients. So much as I would like, and if I want, I can produce 10 papers in one academic year. I can. The kind of work that I do can be cutting edge and worth publication in high index journal publications. But I don't keep that as my focus. The reason is I think my responsibility as a social orthopedic surgeon is far more. Because Robert Virchow said medicine is a social science and politics is nothing but medicine on a larger scale. Medicine on a larger scale. And therefore, politics is also a kind of medicine. And hasn't the lockdown taught us that? What are the politicians and what are the politicians around the world doing? They're administrating the lockdown medicine across the world. And that is what is happening. That is also medicine on a larger scale. The first task of a doctor, therefore, is politically to understand the social norms, and struggle against disease must therefore begin with war against bad governance against that disease. And that is, struggle against the person with the disability should begin with struggle against bad management of person with disability and the societal administration of person with disability. Michel Foucault, one of the finest philosophers of France and one of the most influential 10 philosophers the world has produced in the last century, wrote in The Birth of the Clinic, observe the sick, assist nature without violating it. Important, ecology is important. Admitting in all modesty that much knowledge is still lacking. We are still on our gradient of understanding. And we need to constantly climb that gradient to leap that slope and move from our mountain of stupidity. I am recognized as a polio surgeon as shown by the video. And often asked the question, do you still see polio? Yes, I still see polio. The disease, the deformity and disability, all are preventable. Fortunately, the disease has been prevented from India, not the world, from India. So it's important that we recognize that there are still children out there who are crawling on all fours, children out there who are limping around, children out there who are walking with sticks, children out there who are walking with stick with severe deformities, children out there who are using crutches, children out there who are bedridden because of this. Each of them polio afflicted, intellectually absolutely normal like you and I. We have a responsibility as a society to provide them access and make sure that their intellectual capabilities reaches the best heights of achievement that is needed. This is grotesque, and anybody watching this girl would feel pity in the way she's walking, but that's not the emotion that we need. We can change the life of these people by giving them things, getting them to access this kind of ward. I have a polio ward. This picture is 1992, 8-bed free care for children with polio. That's today's ward. All those little children have grown up now. No small child is there with polio. All adults are coming. So our understanding has to learn, to change, so that we know how to deal with these older children. A child with polio is different from an adult with polio. A child with polio is easily manageable. An adult with polio has other things to be dealt with. And many of these girls, when you talk to them, they talk as if the girl extreme right, she talks as if she was in the 8th class. You feel terrible. And this is, we have to segregate the boys from the girls because they're older children. They're not little children where you could put all of them in the same ward. Boys and girls in the same ward, grown up, they are in different wards. That's my dream, to have an empty ward. It'll be a long time before it happens, but there'll be still polio victims there, like this boy. His was a physical challenge. This deformity, very grotesque, and so grotesque that this boy attempted suicide 3 times. 3 बारी खुदकुशी की कोशिश करी उसने, 3 बारी. Fortunately, तीनों बारी असफल रहा, बच गया. खुदा करे अच्छा रहा, बच गया. जब बच गया उसके एक अंकल ने देखा कि अब ये तो बहुत बारी खुदकुशी कर रहा है, अगली बारी करने से पहले इसको मैं अस्पताल ले जाता हूँ. He brought him to me. He read about me and he brought him to me. And I said, yes, I can operate him. I operated him, got him straight. And why did he commit suicide? जब वो गांव में नीचे बैठ के खाना खाते हैं, जब नीचे बैठ के खाना खाते थे, his feet would stick up, उसका पंजा आगे दिखता था, और उसके साथ कोई और जना बैठ के घर वाला खाने को तैयार नहीं था. कोई भी घर वाला इसके साथ बैठ के खाने को तैयार नहीं था. उसको लगा कि मैं जो है मेरे समाज में एक तिरस्कृत व्यक्ति हूं. आई एम अ स्टिग्मेटाइज्ड, segregated person, and therefore he attempted suicide. And once he was straight like that, nobody could make out. So a revealed grotesque deformity was converted to a concealed deformity. He went back to his village. He runs a shop with his uncle now. A birth defect like clubfoot. Just look at the age spectrum. From small child of 1 year to 15-year-old, all of them untreated. Look at the problem, untreated. So there is a problem of access. We have failed in our societal responsibility to take care of these children as soon as they were born. This is a completely correctable deformity. Completely correctable. They can have a normal life. Even the best compliment I received was when the mother said, iske दाएं पैर का था, father said, iske बाएं पैर का था. When I examined, of course, the mother is always right. दाएं पैर का था. In India, every 10 minutes a child is born with clubfoot. Every 10 minutes. And we decided 50,000 children need to be treated every year. Therefore, we need to access them. How do you access them? The poor go to government medical colleges. So we decided to train doctors in government medical colleges and create clinics there. But this was not easy. Health is a state subject, and we did that, going from state to state, creating a public health model, identifying the problem, identifying the risk factors, finding out solution, and implementing and scaling it up across the country. Now we have a clinic in every state of the country, working only with government medical colleges. We have now 80,000 children treated with clubfoot. 80,000. Back as normal society members. That's the current president of us, Maniniya Kovindji, who came, and he was so proud. He said, "मैं इन सब के साथ अपना photo चाहता." All of them are treated for clubfoot. Normal children now who had disability. We created a football team now. This is a football league where so-called normal children compete with children treated with clubfoot. And that's my team of football league players competing with normal children. And the moment the parent sees this, their hopes are sky high. Mera bachcha bhi football khel sakta hai. Reach the heights of achievement. So employment generation is another activity we need to do that. And that is, we created the Brace Production Center, where we employ only persons with disability, but there are few who are there who are able to guide them and manage that. So while I did surgeries at best 600 children in a year, Rotary and government agencies teamed up to eradicate polio from India. So the social responsibility is the responsibility where social organizations, the government, the private, the public, everyone needs to team up and partner together to eliminate causes of disability. So what they have achieved is much greater an impact nationally and globally than what I have done. I hope tomorrow the world is without polio. Because whatever we do in education or in health has a huge social impact. We have to think carefully and plan carefully and act carefully. We can remove stigmas, we can change physical capacities, and we can enable each other to reach the summit of each one's dream. Both legs blown out in a landmine. Trained to walk with a bilateral prosthesis. It took 2-3 months before he could walk, both legs gone. and we got him to stand. As soon as he was independent, had the balance, he did this. He was armed forces personnel. He did the karate maneuver. Look at that. He's lost both his legs, but he's immediately thinking of, he has his hands with which he can do karate maneuver. So he discarded his crutches and started doing the karate maneuver. Just look at that. The dream of a human being remained. This girl, she had never walked. She's always on a wheelchair, but she's a fine artist. That's a painting done by her. And that's her painting. In sitting in my ward, she was painting. Beautiful. She has several portfolios to her credit. And she requested me, doctor, I want to stand on my 2 feet. I said, it's extremely difficult. No, it doesn't matter. Even if it is difficult, I'm willing to try. She was taking up the challenge. I'm willing to try, but you give a chance to me. You work hard on me. I am willing to try. This is in the ward, admitted. While she was on treatment, she's doing this painting. And she has several portfolios. She's had exhibitions in several cities. And it turned out her paralysis was so severe, she needed a very special wheelchair. अब वो यहाँ कहीं नहीं था. जब आपकी जरूरत असली हो, आपके ख्वाब असली हो, तो कुदरत भी आपकी तरफ साजिश करता है आपको वो पहुंचाने का. It so happened, that's her portfolio. Look at the portfolio that she has. We managed. It was not manufactured in India. Somebody visited me. I asked them, can you get this? They said, we will try. कोशिश करा, अमेरिका में ट्राई करा, नहीं मिला. पता चला कि नेदरलैंड्स में बनता है ये. नेदरलैंड्स वालों ने कहा कि हम डायरेक्टली नहीं देंगे, तो बेल्जियम वाले किसी ने कहा कि हम वहां पे रिसीव करके वहां से यहाँ दे देंगे. फाइनली वी वर एबल टू गेट इट टू स्टैंड. तो मैंने उससे पूछा कि किरण, आप क्यों ऐसे खड़े होना चाहते हैं? डॉक्टर साहब, जब मेरा एग्जीबिशन शो होता है ना, जब लोग मेरे पेंटिंग्स देखते हैं, मैं नीचे लेवल पे होती हूँ व्हील चेयर पे, वो लोग सारे मेरे हायर लेवल पे होते हैं. मैं उन्हीं की बराबरी में खड़ी होनी चाहती हूँ. So we were able to get her dream, बराबरी वाली ड्रीम. और बराबरी वाली ड्रीम इंक्लूजन से हो सकती है, उसके बगैर नहीं हो सकती. This girl, the video was taken by my postgraduate. She had polio. She had what is known as hand on thigh gait. एडमिट होकर ट्रीटमेंट करके चली गई. ऑपरेट हो गई, मैंने कैलिपर दे दिया, चलने लग गई, चली गई. 6 महीने बाद एक कपल आए मेरे पास. मैंने कहा, आप यहाँ कहाँ से आ गए? ये मेरे को इन्होंने भेजा है. मैंने कहा, वो कहाँ पे है? नहीं, वो हमारे कॉलेज में आती थी. तो मैंने कहा, वो कैसी है? कि डॉक्टर साहब, वो तो शिफ्ट कर लिया उसने. मैंने कहा, क्या मतलब? I didn't know that though she could not walk well, she was the arm wrestling champion for the year 2017. Can you imagine? Arm wrestling champion with that disability. She couldn't walk. But when I gave her the ability to walk straight, the spirit of human endeavor never dies. What did he do? So this person who came from there, he showed, डॉक्टर साहब ये देखो क्या कर रही है वो. मैंने कहा, दिखाओ क्या है. तो he showed me this video. मैंने कहा, ये क्या है? ये तो बैडमिंटन कोर्ट है. हाँ जी डॉक्टर साहब. उसने जो है, जैसे ही उसने चलना सीखा, उसने कहा कि मेरे हाथ तो बड़े अच्छे हैं, मैं अच्छा वाला जो है बैडमिंटन खेलता हूँ, खेलने की कोशिश करती हूँ. तो she started, this is a girl, she has that caliper, but she became a member of the National Paralympics badminton team within a year and a half of her getting the ability to walk on her own. Just imagine, अगर आप उनको potential देंगे तो वो आसमान तय कर सकते हैं. This girl, both legs paralyzed, है ना? Grotesque deformity. Look at that, spine crooked, grotesque deformity. और एक बारी इसका फोन आया मेरे को, डॉक्टर साहब आप अस्पताल में रहेंगे? मैंने कहा हाँ। शनिवार का दिन था, फोन 12:30 बजे आया था कि आप जाना नहीं, मैं आऊंगी, डोंट गो, आई विल बी देयर विथ यू। मैंने कहा ठीक है, मेरी ओपीडी चल रही है, शनिवार की ओपीडी मेरी देर तक चलती है। मैंने कहा कोई बात नहीं, आ जाना, जब आओगे देख लूंगा। तो तकरीबन 3:45 हो गए, तो सिस्टर ने मतलब कि सर आप एक पेशेंट को बुलाया था आपने? मैंने किसको? वो नीलम है, वो आ रही है। अच्छा, मैंने कहा अभी 2-4 पेशेंट और है, उसे कहो कि रुक जाना। तो मैंने had finished the other patient that I was seeing, मैं बाहर निकला क्योंकि ये व्हील चेयर पे थी, तो व्हील चेयर मेरे कमरे तक थोड़ा सा मुश्किल से आता है, आ जाता है लेकिन थोड़ा मुश्किल से आता है। तो मैंने पूछा, तो उसने ये तस्वीर दिखाई मेरे को, और एक चॉकलेट का डब्बा दिया मेरे को। मैंने कहा ये क्या है, जन्मदिन है क्या है? और इतनी खूबसूरत तस्वीर दिखा रही हो? मेरी तस्वीर है। इतनी खूबसूरत तस्वीर दिखा रही हो तुम, है चॉकलेट दे रही हो, जन्मदिन है पक्का तुम्हारा? नहीं सर। उसने फिर ये दिखाया मेरे को। मैंने कहा ये क्या है? सर मैं मिस व्हीलचेयर दिल्ली के कंपटीशन में गई थी और मैं मिस व्हीलचेयर दिल्ली बन गई हूं। हाँ, आप नहीं सोचोगे कि somebody with this grotesque deformity has dreams of becoming miss something, but human aspiration is what it is. You give it an opportunity, they will scale the heights. That's Neelam, scaling the heights of opportunity. That, was her way. 3 साल के बाद मेरे को एक वेडिंग कार्ड का रिसेप्शन का इनविटेशन आया और मैं गया। नीलम की वेडिंग थी। दैट इज नीलम ड्रेस्ड इन ऑल हर फाइनरीज because she's reached a social acceptance that is there. That is important. Human aspirations are the same. We need to recognize that. And as fellow humans, we must do what we can do to enable them to achieve that. I was in Kerala. I was in a training program for people that were teachers and occupational therapists and physiotherapists working with the person with disability. And session khatam ho gaya. I had to catch a flight. So 2 of the occupational therapists joined me in the taxi that I was going to. हमारा रास्ते में ड्रॉप कर देना हमको, हम भी उसी रास्ते जा रहे हैं। तो कैलिकट से कोचीन तक लंबा रास्ता है, कार में बात कर रहे थे। There the teacher narrated a story. And that is where technology plays such an important part. Breaking the digital divide is important. A child who was autistic, would hardly talk, was all of probably 6 or something. He would sit at home doing nothing. His father worked in the printing press, और प्रिंटिंग प्रेस में प्रूफ रीडिंग के लिए चीजें लेके आते थे। He was a proofreader, first level proofreader. कई चीजें लेके आते थे, पढ़ा रहता था, बच्चा भी देखता रहता था। Father never thought he's reading anything. Then somebody gifted him an iPad, type of a smart, whatever you call that, tablet. वो उसके साथ खेलता रहा और क्लास में लेके जाने लग गया। He used to go to a classroom where other children with other needs were there. और ये खेलता रहता था पैड से, टैबलेट से। तो टीचर्स डे पे टीचर ने उसको बताया कि सारे बच्चों, आज टीचर्स डे है, आप अपने टीचर के बारे में लिखो, एक सेंटेंस लिखो। बहुत बढ़िया, टीचर के बारे में एक सेंटेंस लिखना है तो अच्छा है, लिखेंगे। तो सबने कुछ न कुछ कागज कलम लेके अपनी कॉपी में लिख डाला। So the teacher started collecting the notes of students. So this teacher came to this boy who was still playing with the tablet. She took it from him and he showed it to her. And when she read what was written there, she said she had tears in her eyes. And I also had tears in my eyes when I learned what he wrote. My teacher, a storehouse of knowledge, who opens the world to the students. A storehouse of knowledge that opens the world to the students. Life is defined not by what it is, by what it is not. Health and education is grounded in social context. And we have to recognize that. We have to accept that, and we have to work to ensure that that social context is dealt with all of us in an empathetic way and not by dealing with them in pity. We have an opportunity to change lives. And are we measuring up is what I will ask. All of us are told we should leave footprints in the sands of time. I think as a human being, it is far more important to restore the dignity of our fellow human beings. I don't think footprints matter. Everyone is forgotten sometime in life. Thank you very much. I'll stop here.
Thank you, sir, for this rather nuanced, well-researched and excellent session. I was listening to you awestruck throughout, and I hope others were too. I'm at a loss of words, and I don't think so I'm at all qualified to comment on your extremely well-researched and brilliant talk. But I think there are a few points that I can mention. It is extremely important for educators like us, who are mostly from humanities fields, to understand disability in all its nuances from a medical expert's perspective. But that's what I expected, from to get from this lecture. But it turned out to be more than that. You invoked Kaufman, Michel Foucault, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, and many more philosophers to bring the point home. And not only that, you also brought in economics and social perspective to understand the concept of disability, to make us understand the concept of disability, and touched upon some very real structural problems that we have and that we need to address. Like very rightly, you mentioned about corruption, that how corruption itself is not the problem, but the structures which, make it possible for corruption to exist. And you very rightly mentioned how we need to redefine disability, and understanding that disability is contextual, and in certain contexts we all can be disabled. So that is something. And I think you also brought in the linguistic importance of bringing in understanding the linguistics of understanding disability, how that also language also plays a part. And I think we as teachers need to be more compassionate, if that is the one point I can bring back home, with our differently able students. And we need to educate ourselves first to be compassionate to them. And there is so much work that needs to be done, but the first step that remains is getting aware of the issue. And I think that remains the crux of it. Thank you, sir. And there are so many questions and comments on your session that we would like to take. I think we can start with the questions. Can we
Yes,
start with the questions?
yes, Khushbu, I think we should start.
Okay. So there is
I
Dr.
didn't look at the time. I get carried away. So I'm sorry if I overshot the time. I don't know.
No, sir. Thank you so much for this. And I'm saying it genuinely, not just because I have to say it. So there is Dr. Pratima Kaushik. She is asking, what is the minimum qualification for assessing children with disability? And is one required to be only RCI certified to do assessment and certification?
That is the challenge. Many years back, I was made a chairman of a committee by the Rehabilitation Council of India to simplify procedures for disability, to eliminate corruption, to make it easier for children to get their disability certificates. And we made it a very simple certificate where visible disabilities, where things are visible, your teacher could do it simply. But somehow in the bureaucratic, not just bureaucratic, technocratic, actually obstruction comes more technocratically. Sometimes it is easier to explain to the bureaucrats and then difficult to explain to the dogmatic technocrats. It got bogged down. Any disability will need to go to the expert area where this needs to be. So there are ways of doing it. That is, the disability boards are there. So it is area wise, depending on which area you belong to, there is a designated area in that particular district. There is a disability board which sits in that medical college or that district hospital or wherever, and expertise is called in wherever required. If it is orthopedic, locomotor, orthopedic. If it is intellectual, neurologist. If it is visual, it is ophthalmology. If it is hearing, it is ENT. If it is, so that spectrum varies. It can only be one of those qualified personnel who can provide it. And therefore, it is a little challenging. Say, for example, a child with cerebral palsy. He needs to go to two different sets of people. First is he needs to go to an orthopedic surgeon for the orthopedic part of the handicap. Then the intellectual part, he has to go to a neurologist. So in Delhi, for example, all cerebral palsy, the persons in my area at least have to go to the Institute for Behavioral Sciences, so the IBAHAS. So they have to go there, get it certified from the neurologist, and then they counter certified by the director. So it's a long process. It needs to be simplified. So there is a program by the government to start the unique ID for the disabled that is also coming up. I'm not familiar with the details. I have not seen any of my patients coming up with that.
Okay. All right.
But it is conceptually there. I have not seen it physically operational, but maybe it is there. I'm not aware of it. Someone can educate me on that.
All right. Thank you, sir. Then we have Dr. Muskan from Vivekanand College, and she's asking you if there is any gendered face of disability, if disability is gendered. That's what she.
Of course, it is gendered.
Okay.
Hugely gendered. We see it every time. A girl child will be brought to us. This is already a long lecture. I have slides on that. Will be brought to us when she's 18 for treatment. A boy child will be brought to us when he is less than 1. Why? Because 18 is a legal age for marriage.
Yeah.
So when the लड़की पराया धन है, पराया घर जाने के लिए तैयार है, लेकिन वो फिजिकली तैयार नहीं है, तो शायद कहीं जाने से कुछ इलाज हो सकता है. So early access for male gender, late access for the girl child. I don't like the expression female. It is used universally, but I like the expression girl or a lady.
Thank you, sir. और इस बात के लिए भी शुक्रिया, आप अपना लेक्चर और अपने आंसर्स हिंदी में भी रख रहे हैं, क्योंकि हमारे बहुत सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं जो हिंदी ज्यादा अच्छे से समझते हैं.
माफ, स्मृति ने मेरे को बताया था, मैं भूल गया.
नहीं सर, आपने बिल्कुल हिंदी
बोलता चला गया. Sorry.
नहीं.
Apologize for the Hindi speaking audience.
बेहद अच्छा रहा पूरा.
सर, आपने बहुत अच्छा बोला है. हिंदी आपने यूज किया है.
सर, छोटा सा सवाल ले लेते हैं. खुशबू जी, ये सवाल ले लेते हैं. ये है अजीत सिंह तोमर जी का सवाल है. ये कहते हैं, आदरणीय सर, मेरा सवाल यह है कि स्टडी के मुताबिक स्पेशल चाइल्ड अपनी प्राइमरी एजुकेशन पूरी नहीं कर पाते क्योंकि स्कूल में स्पेशल एजुकेटर नहीं है. हम हायर एजुकेशन में काम करते हैं, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स में फिजिकली डिसेबल्ड बच्चे अधिक होते हैं, मगर जो बच्चे न्यूरोमोटर और अन्य कॉग्निटिव डिसेबिलिटीज से गुजर रहे होते हैं वो स्कूल पूरा नहीं कर पाते हैं. सरकार ने यह सेक्टर एनजीओ के भरोसे छोड़ दिया है और उन्हीं के भरोसे रिहैबिलिटेशन सेंटर है. नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी से उम्मीद बनती है, मगर जब तक यह मास अवेयरनेस नहीं होगी और पेरेंट्स भी डिसेबल बच्चों को लेकर शर्म न महसूस करेंगे, तब तक यह लक्ष्य कैसे प्राप्त हो सकेगा. तो सवाल और जवाब मिला जुला है सर. जी,
तो रिएक्शन करूंगा.
जी सर.
पहली चार्ज जो एर्विंग गॉफमैन की किताब मैंने कोट करी थी, उसमें हम कुछ चीज शर्म के कारण नहीं करें, हम कुछ चीज इसलिए करें कि वो उसका हक है, इसलिए हम उसका हक दिला रहे हैं. We have to think in terms of it is a right of the person with the disability to get what he gets and not give it as a handout, as a charity. वो तब करते हैं जब हम पिटी करते हैं। तो शर्म से नहीं करें, इसलिए कि वो उसका हक है, इसलिए हम हक दिला रहे हैं। हमारा रोल है कि हम उसको इतनी उसको इंटेलेक्चुअल एबिलिटी दे कि वो हक के लिए डिमांड कर पाए, वो पेरेंट्स डिमांड कर पाए, वो हमारी जिम्मेदारी होनी चाहिए, पहली चीज। और फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन, सॉरी, जस्ट रिपीट द फर्स्ट पार्ट।
फर्स्ट पार्ट है कि जो हायर एजुकेशन में ज्यादातर बच्चे जो न्यूरोमोटर और दूसरे कॉग्निटिव डिसेबिलिटी से गुजरते हैं वो स्कूल नहीं आ पाते, पूरा नहीं कर पाते।
वो जो न्यूरो मोटर वाला तो एक्सेस है, मोस्टली बैरियर फ्री एक्सेस नहीं है। इनफैक्ट जब पहली बारी जब मैं विदेश गया था और पार्किंग लॉट्स देखे, वहां पे हैंडीकैप के लिए व्हील चेयर वाला एक अलग पार्किंग स्पेस बना हुआ था। कितने सेंसिटिव लोग हैं, कितने सेंसिटिव लोग हैं। मैंने तो हिंदुस्तान में कहीं देखा ही नहीं है पार्किंग स्पेस अलोकेटेड फॉर डिसेबल्ड। ये कितने सेंसिटिव है और हम कितने कम सेंसिटिव हैं। लेकिन मेरे को अपनी गलती तब पता चला जब when I started reading about it, then I realized as economies evolved, the number of disabled increased. As the number of disabled increased, their vocal power improved, their bargaining power improved. उनका हक मांगने का जो कैपेसिटी है वो नंबर्स बढ़ गए, तो पॉलिटिशियंस ध्यान से सुनने लगे। इसलिए उनको दिया गया, इसलिए नहीं कि गोरा हमारे काले से ज्यादा सेंसिटिव है, नहीं, हम भी उतने ही सेंसिटिव हैं, लेकिन जब तक हमारी नंबर्स नहीं बनती हम कर नहीं पाते, ये समझना है। तो वो जो हायर एजुकेशन लेवल पे हम तभी कर पाएंगे जो कि हमें सिस्टम बनाना पड़ेगा। ये मेरा बायस है, आप यू कैन कॉल इट आइडियोलॉजिकल बायस, क्योंकि मैं पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजिकल बायस पॉलिटिकल हो सकता है। मैं किसी पार्टी का सपोर्टर नहीं हूं, कोई भी अच्छा करता है तो मैं उसका सपोर्टर हूं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। लेकिन मेरे को दिक्कत यह है कि 3 चीजें बल्कि 4 चीजें सरकार की जिम्मेदारी होनी चाहिए। पहली चीज एजुकेशन, दूसरी चीज स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं, तीसरी चीज सामाजिक बस सेवा और सामाजिक ट्रांसपोर्टेशन फैसिलिटी, और चौथी चीज मिनिमम न्यूट्रिशन फॉर एवरीवन। मैंने ऑर्डर जानबूझ के ऐसे रखा है। आपकी प्रायोरिटी, जब हम सेरेब्रल पैल्सी इंटेलेक्चुअली चैलेंज बच्चों को डील करते हैं, मालूम है क्या है टॉप प्रायोरिटी उनको डील करने के लिए इंटेलेक्चुअल इंपैयरमेंट इज कम्युनिकेशन। सेकेंड प्रायोरिटी कम्युनिकेशन करना है। अगर आपको संवाद करना है तो आपको भाषा चाहिए, और भाषा चाहिए तो आपको एजुकेशन चाहिए। तो that is a natural corollary which falls into place. तो आपकी समझ, हमारा दायरा लिमिटेड हो जाता है, क्योंकि हम नॉर्मल लोगों तक हायर एजुकेशन पूरी सीमाओं तक नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे हैं, सीमाओं के बाहर पूरी ऊंचाइयों तक नहीं पहुंचा रहे हैं। जो विकलांग है, दिव्यांग है, जो भी आप कहना चाहेंगे, उन तक कैसे पहुंचेंगे आप? नॉर्मल लोगों को नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे हैं सबको। तो जरूरी है कि while we are thinking of those people, we are also thinking of how do we do that, and that needs a massive challenge, massive input from the governmental sector in improving higher education sector, in accessing systems of education, technology for education, medium for education, medium for communication for intellectually challenged persons. That's the only answer. प्राइवेट सेक्टर नहीं आएगा इसमें, इक्के दुक्के लोग आएंगे। लेकिन अगर आप जो नंबर्स आप देख रहे हैं, 2.2 लोग हैं आपके डिसेबल्ड, और उसमें से 0.1% इंटेलेक्चुअली चैलेंज्ड हैं। 0.1%। अगर आप 1.3 बिलियन का देखेंगे तो बहुत ज्यादा है। 1000 में 10, 10,000 में 100, 1 लाख में 1000, अब बिलियन में हिसाब लगा लो अब कितना बनता है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
तो सरकार को इसको एक्टिव प्रोएक्टिव कदम लेना पड़ेगा।
बिल्कुल सर।
He's asking, is the new education policy has a special focus on transformation of technology in all stages of educational institutions, both in rural and urban areas?
जो टेक्स्ट मैंने पढ़ा है बहुत ही खूबसूरत है, बट वही मैंने कहा, जो शब्दों की खूबसूरती है वो आपके एक्शन की खूबसूरती में ट्रांसलेट करना है। जैसे अंग्रेजी में कहते हैं ना, many a slip between the cup and the sip, वो कैसे हम ब्रिज करेंगे। जो उन्होंने शब्दावली लिखी है वहां पे बहुत ही अच्छा लिखा है कि टेक्नोलॉजी, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, हाउ टू डेवलप दिस, हाउ टू ब्रेक द डिजिटल डिवाइड, सब कुछ ही बहुत ही खूबसूरत तरीके से लिखा है। लेकिन वो अचीव कैसे करेंगे? अगर आप एनजीओ सेक्टर पे छोड़ेंगे तो नहीं होगा। हर प्राइवेट स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल को मैं चिट्ठी लिखता हूं, प्लीज देयर इज नो रिस्क टू द अदर चिल्ड्रन फ्रॉम दिस चाइल्ड, इज अ वेरी नाइस चाइल्ड, he can sit and learn with the other children। प्रिंसिपल को चिट्ठी लिखता हूं, फिर भी कहते हैं डॉक्टर साहब उन्होंने फिर भी मना कर दिया है। फिर मैं संस्थाओं से जुड़ जाता हूं एनजीओ के साथ एडवोकेसी के लिए। एनजीओज हैं तो आदि जैसे एनजीओ है, मैं उनको लिखता हूं चिट्ठी, कैन यू प्लीज इंटरेक्ट विद द बेस्ट स्कूल फॉर दिस चाइल्ड सो दैट दे कैन बी एडमिटेड। फिर उनको वहां भेजता हूं तो वो प्रिंसिपल से जाते हैं, फिर डर जाते हैं वो। जब एनजीओज और एडवोकेसी ग्रुप वाले बोलते हैं, लीगल लैंग्वेज यूज करते हैं, फिर डर जाते हैं। क्योंकि जहां लीगल सिस्टम आ जाता है लोग डर जाते हैं और पीछे हट जाते हैं, लेकिन मन से नहीं कर रहे हैं। जरूरत है कि मन से करें,
बिल्कुल
डर से नहीं, मन से।
बिल्कुल सर। So there are more questions and I don't think so we can take all. I understand that you're very busy and you can't hold you back.
I can give you another 5 minutes. Huh?
Okay. So
Khushbu,
yes.
we can take question of Grishma.
Can you please read it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can read it.
Sir, question is, how effective is national curriculum in any developing country adopted to include totally blind students in mainstream primary schools? How effective is national curriculum in any developing country? So this is the question.
मैं समझता हूं कि मैं इसके लिए एक्सपर्ट नहीं हूं, लेकिन जितनी मेरी समझ है उसमें मैं बोल सकता हूं।
जी सर।
अगर एक हेट्रोजेनस सोसाइटी है, उसमें नेशनल इंपोज करना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है, एक्सेप्ट इन सर्टेन थिंग्स। क्योंकि आप कश्मीर से केरला तक जाएंगे, सब कुछ बदल जाता है, सब कुछ बदल जाता है। The approach, the culture, the food, the way they interact, everything changes. So कुछ चीजों में नेशनल करिकुलम होना चाहिए। Good for integration, it is important and we have to be integrating with the nation and it is important. But at the same time, there has to be a space for that local. Okay, so हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी भी कहते हैं कि वोकल फॉर लोकल, so we have to be there also. The national curriculum has streamlined certain things. The local curriculum can streamline certain things. प्रॉब्लम पता है क्या है? प्रॉब्लम यह है, हम अपने आप को कंपेयर करते हैं यूके के साथ, हम अपने आप को कंपेयर करते हैं फ्रांस के साथ, हम अपने आप को कंपेयर करते हैं जर्मनी के साथ। डोंट फॉरगेट they can have a national curriculum because उनकी homogeneous society है, उनकी heterogeneity with migrants coming into their communities, it is only problem now. They could decide sitting across the tables for everyone because they were homogeneous, not just socially, not just linguistically. केवल उनका भाषा का नहीं है बराबरी, केवल उनका इकोनॉमी का बराबरी नहीं है, उनका सोशल बराबरी, सब कुछ बराबर है उनका। तो जो सफाई कर्मचारी सफाई करता है अस्पताल में वो भी कार में आता था, और जो डॉक्टर है वो भी कार में आता था। तो दोनों अक्रॉस द टेबल एक टेबल पे बैठ के डिस्कस कर सकते हैं। और जो यूएसए में है वहां भी ऐसा ही है, नेबरहुड स्कूल का कंसेप्ट है, and it is all provided by this government. There are limited private education facilities. Those that can, neighborhood schools can be free, but when you want to go to a private education, that is also there. But neighborhood access जो है उसमें हमें देखना है कि क्या हम ये बच्चे को उसके पेरेंट्स के साथ का दर्जा दे के हम पढ़ा रहे हैं या अलग पढ़ा रहे हैं। अब लोग कहते हैं केंद्रीय विद्यालय, मैं केंद्रीय विद्यालय से हूं। केंद्रीय विद्यालय उनकी परफॉर्मेंस और आईआईटी और मेडिसिन में एंट्रेंस में अच्छा होता है। क्यों अच्छा होता है? मालूम है क्यों अच्छा होता है? इसलिए अच्छा होता है, केंद्रीय विद्यालय केवल ट्रांसफरेबल जॉब पेरेंट्स के लिए था। तो ये थे उन जगहों पे जहां पे कि जैसे पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिट्स थे, भारत हेवी इलेक्ट्रिकल्स है, उनका जो स्टील अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया का है, कोल इंडिया लिमिटेड का है, इन सब जगह पे। और वहां पे एक छोटी जगह पे सीईओ मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर का बच्चा भी उसी स्कूल में जाता है जहां के वहां के सफाई कर्मचारी का बच्चा जाता है। तो मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर का बच्चा उसी स्कूल में जाता है तो उसकी जिम्मेदारी बनती है वो टीचर से क्वेश्चन करेगा, तुम्हारी पढ़ाई अच्छी नहीं है। लेकिन अगर सिर्फ सफाई कर्मचारी वालों के बच्चे पढ़ते हैं एक ही स्कूल में तो टीचर नहीं सुनेगा। देयर इज एन इकोनॉमिक डिवाइड, there is a cultural divide, there is a class divide. Your divide has to break only by homogeneity in terms of either economics or culture or something. Heterogeneous societies will have to accept diversity of existence, and we have to respect diversity. That is important. तो national curriculum अहमियत रखती है उन सब्जेक्ट्स में, जैसे साइंस सब्जेक्ट्स है नेशनल करिकुलम, यस। लिंग्विस्टिक सब्जेक्ट्स है नेशनल करिकुलम नहीं हो सकता। तो यू नीड टू नो कहाँ हो सकता है कहाँ नहीं हो सकता, उसकी लिमिटेशंस क्या है क्या नहीं है। तो आप थोप नहीं सकते, इतना अच्छा नहीं है। मन से आना चाहिए, जबरदस्ती नहीं।
Thank you, sir. I think we cannot take any more questions now.
खुशबू एक मिनट।
हाँ जी।
सर कुछ सत्र ऐसे होते हैं जहां हमारे श्रोता हैं उनका मन भरता ही नहीं है। आपका सत्र उन्हीं में से एक होता है। हम लोग इससे पहले भी आपका व्याख्यान करा चुके हैं और वो चाहते हैं कि खुद भी प्रश्न पूछें। हम लोग आयोजक ही पूछते चले जा रहे हैं। तो उस कमी को पूरा करने के लिए ही मैं चाहूंगा कि ये अंतिम प्रश्न जो है सचिन जी हैं वो खुद पूछे। हमने उन्हें राइट दे दिया है। सचिन या रमन अगर आप उपस्थित हैं तो आप अपनी उस इच्छा को पूरी कर सकते हैं। सर हमारे सामने है, आप अपना प्रश्न उनसे साक्षात पूछिए। धन्यवाद।
हेलो।
हाँ जी बोलिए।
हेलो।
हाँ जी बोलिए।
आप सुनाई दे रहा है सर।
बोलिए
हाँ,
सचिन जी।
very good evening sir, and very wonderful session it was. In my place a girl is having polio and she is now 13. Can she be treated now?
पोलियो का देखो, ट्रीटेड यस, आई कैन ट्रीट ऑल चिल्ड्रन विद पोलियो, लेकिन मेरे को ये देखना पड़ेगा कि उसकी लिमिटेशंस क्या हैं और उस लिमिटेशंस को मैं कैसे ओवरकम कर सकता हूँ, वो देख के मैं कर सकता हूँ। जरूर
Okay,
अगर आप भेज देंगे तो मैं कर दूंगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
If you don't mind, may I get the address? Even you can give it to the organizers.
को email
It is
दे
St. Stephen's Hospital. I'll give you. We will post the address. Okay. In the group.
Okay.
आप
Okay.
कर लीजिएगा।
Thank you very much.
बिल्कुल गरीब है तो हम बिल्कुल फ्री इलाज करते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
Yeah. She is poor one.
सर अब चलते चलते एक अंतिम प्रश्न ले लेते हैं। और मैंने मौका तो दिया था लेकिन संभवतः मनीष जी उपस्थित नहीं है, तो मनीष जी की इच्छा का सम्मान करते हुए मैं आपसे उनका प्रश्न रख देता हूं कि इंडिया इस समय पोलियो फ्री घोषित हो चुका है, तो क्या कंट्री अपने देश के किसी भी भाग में पार्शियल पोलियो का कोई केस आया है क्या इन दिनों, जब से वैक्सीनेशन खत्म हुआ या वैक्सीनेशन वाला कार्य अपने परिसमाप्ति पे है, तत्पश्चात कोई केस आया क्या?
और इसका सीधा जवाब है वाइल्ड वायरस जो बोलते हैं पोलियो कॉज करने वाली वायरस है, उसका कोई केस नहीं आया है। लेकिन वैक्सीन रिलेटेड वायरस के हैं कुछ केसेस, लेकिन उनसे खतरा इतना नहीं है, उससे बहुत माइल्ड प्रॉब्लम होता है और उसमें कोई टेंशन की जरूरत नहीं है। वाइल्ड वायरस नहीं हुआ है, हिंदुस्तान में नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन डर यही है क्योंकि हमारे कुछ पड़ोसी देशों में है, तो वहां से यहाँ नहीं आना, इसलिए हमें सतर्क रहना पड़ेगा।
बहुत अच्छा सेशन सर।
धन्यवाद सर। और सविता जी, खुशबू जी, अब आप लोगों को हम आह्वान करते हैं कि अब समापन की ओर ले जाएं, जो आपका कार्यक्रम हो उस हिसाब से आगे बढ़े।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। थैंक यू सो मच सर। नाउ आई
So we can understand what time you must have taken out from your schedule to give us this time. And we are fortunate enough that we heard you. And thank you for this putting this idea in our mind that FTB is taking place because of your contribution. You are advisory body in our FTP as well. You are indeed superhero. I don't want to share, like, actually it is difficult. And once you have written letter for me also, for my child who had very mild disability in that way, so you have written letter for me also, and how it was helpful, and how it was like it helped school to accept her, and how much difficulties we are facing till date to get children with all kind of disability getting accepted in the society. So you are not only doctor, of course, for me you are mentor, and for everyone I believe you are mentor, your guru, and you are social worker, you are doctor. I don't know in like which category we can put you in. Thank you so much. We are really grateful to you, and we are really privileged to listen to you and have you in our session.